Step 2.
I don't know.
Weighing in with Travis Hartman, I am B Money, the producer. That over there is the talent. Weekend Trav. It's been a little bit since we've met. This is episode 147. A few things we want to catch up on, and we're going to start first and foremost. Teofimo Lopez took on Jermaine Ortiz a couple weekends ago, and I don't want to call it controversy, but there's a lot of questions to the results of this matchup. Some people claiming it was a track meet. Some people claiming somebody gets robbed. This person gets robbed. And I want to dive into it. Maybe give the listeners at home, the watchers at home, a breakdown of what this fight was about. Teofimo Lopez, Jermaine Ortiz, and then your viewpoint, and we'll talk about it.
So it was a 140-pound title fight, world title fight, Teofimo. I say that wrong a lot. It's Teofimo. I'm going to start calling him Teo. Teo was fighting Jermaine Ortiz, which was a rematch because they fought in the amateurs in the National Golden Gloves finals, right, and Teo beat him by a decision. So there was some bad blood going into this fight as well. As like I said, this is for a world title. It was in Mandalay Bay, Vegas. So big fight. Teo is trying to get back on the major scene after his brief retirement, right?
They all
so
retired.
like all this talk has been going on that we were really expecting fireworks. We're really expecting both of these guys to just like a knockdown drag out, right? And then it turned out to be, in my opinion, though, I thought it was brilliant boxing by Jermaine Ortiz's part. I really did. I thought it was very strategic. I thought he did very well. The decision, I don't think was ludicrous, if that makes sense. So it was a unanimous decision win for Teo. He won 115-113 on 2 scorecards, 117-111 on the other scorecard. However, I know the 117-111 seems crazy, but it was a very close fight. Okay, there was a lot of rounds that were just very tight rounds, and I'm not upset with the decision. What I am upset with is Teo and Bob Arum of Top Rank, who came out and claimed that Jermaine ran the whole fight, right, that Teo didn't lose one single round. I want to tell boxing fans is, when somebody can't catch somebody or they don't know how to cut the ring off, they claim it's running. So, Jermaine Ortiz was strategic, and he landed more punches than Teo. How could he run?
So for those that didn't watch this title fight, Teofimo Lopez was visibly frustrated with his opponent, Jermaine Ortiz, because as you mentioned, going into it, it sounded like it was going to be kind of a barn burner. They're going to go after each other. But game plan is different, and Jermaine Ortiz, beautiful game plan, and just did circle that ring quite a bit. Was moving on his feet quite a bit.
Yep.
And so the complaint from the boxing crowd, especially those that don't really watch a lot of boxing, is that, oh, this is boring. This guy's just running around. Well, no, you're right. And you hit on it. And in fact, Jermaine Ortiz hit on it. You would see pop, pop, move out.
Yeah.
And maybe he circled a lot, but he was trying to pull Teofimo Lopez in to actually engage, whereas Teofimo Lopez wanted him to come to him to engage. Well, that makes no sense. I mean, he was playing to the weaknesses of Lopez, and I think we saw it, and he got frustrated, visibly frustrated in that.
It got in his head for sure, and I think that even though Teo won that fight, he didn't win fans because there's two things. You're right. The fans, it wasn't the most exciting fight for fans.
No,
those
boring.
fights aren't. However, what's the rule in boxing is hit and not get hit.
Yeah.
And Jermaine Ortiz did that pretty brilliantly. Yeah. I think he fought his game plan. He fought the best he possibly could fight and had a chance to beat Teo. I don't think he beat Teo quite, but I do think I would have been okay with a draw. I think a draw 100% would have been a fair scorecard even, but it was so close. Everyone was so close. I think why Teo pulled it off is because he was the aggressor and he was coming forward. So when you have super close rounds, the aggressor usually gets it, and he's the champion too. And it's not supposed to be that way, but sometimes it is. But I get where people are coming from, the fans, but what I want to tell all the boxing, it was the boxing people that I've heard from that were like, oh, he was running. I'm like, you guys know what boxing is? It was so very strategic. At one time, Teo did set back on the ropes it was like the 4th or 5th round and got in the corner and said, come on. And guess what? Ortiz came, though, landed 6 or 7, ducked, moved, slipped out. Yeah. I was like, he was a brilliant boxer. He brought on a Cuban coach for that fight, too, and you could tell because the Cubans are very, very strategic and very good boxers. And I saw that come out in that fight. Jermaine Ortiz is very good. He's very good. Like, Teo, I don't think, as much as Teo wants to be great, I think they're not picking the right opponents for him. Okay, you have to fight who you have to fight. I get it, but I felt like this was kind of a choice. You get to pick a top 10 guy, any of them, and they pick this guy, and I don't think it was a good choice. Just like I don't think when they fought Chris Sandor Martin, I thought he lost to Chris Sandor Martin, who actually dropped Teo as well. But I just don't think it's good matchups for him. It was another lefty, and I think Teo's been struggling with lefties. I mean, he beat Lomachenko though. And we thought he could handle lefties, but then he loses to two lefties, in my opinion. He should have lost to the other guy. And this fight was very close. I think he lost in the fans' eyes, though.
So here's the thing. You take a Teofimo Lopez, and you're starting to get the blueprint as to how to beat him. But usually when you take a high-profile fighter, someone that's a top echelon fighter, and you look at how do I beat this guy, there's not as many possibilities to do. When you look at Teofimo Lopez, the blueprint's growing and growing and growing.
Yeah,
there's several ways that it seems like if I'm a coach, if I'm a trainer going in with my fighter, we're going to go about this fight this way. Either now we're going to frustrate him. We're going to, because once you get in his head, it's over. It's over.
That's the key.
Or you take like a Kambosos and you just smother and attack the guy. You actually fight him like Teofimo Lopez would be fighting himself, actually. That seems to be a way to beat him. So I just feel like there's a lot of cracks in his armor, and we're starting to see that on display.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it takes a very talented guy to beat him, but I do think that Teo, in my opinion, I think what happened was some of his really highlight reel knockouts that kind of got him on the major scene. I think he's fallen in love too much with that power because when I'm watching against all these guys that he's had tough fights with, he's throwing single punches. He's throwing single counters. He's got amazing reflexes. Even against Jermaine Ortiz, there's a couple times where he threw a punch, leaned out, came back over the top with something brilliant. It was brilliant. Like his reactions and his reflexes are amazing, but he's only throwing 1 and 2 punches. So that's why I think when you fight a guy like a Jermaine Ortiz who throws punches in bunches, Kambosos threw punches in bunches, I think guys can outwork and outmuscle Teofimo, and they get in his head. That guy, I think, and it's no secret because the dad is kind of crazy too. And I think that whole relationship is just the emotions that are involved there and the mental stuff. I think there's a lot of mentally, emotionally things going on there. And you can see it in Teo's last 2 to 3 years. You can see he had a small breakdown after the Chris Sandor Martin fight, right? Like, I think that if you can get in Teo's head, you get in the ring, you make him miss a little bit, and you don't stand in front of him and let him hit you, I think you get under his skin. And that's kind of been the blueprint so far, and those guys have gotten under his skin. They don't engage when he wants them to engage. They engage when they want to, and because they do that,
of course,
they're making it very tough for him to look good.
And you as a fighter, why wouldn't you want to, have your offensive assault be when you want to? Not when the other guy's trying to bait you into it, but also weekend Trav. Do you also think this is a situation of him stepping up in weight now? Is that starting to play a factor? Because before, when we saw the highlights of him from years ago, he was kind of bigger than the guys he was fighting at that weight class. But now that he's jumped up a bit, he's now it's almost on par, or if not looking a little smaller in the ring. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
I mean, I think a little bit. I don't think it's major yet because I think, and I've always said it on the podcast, that when two high-level guys get up there, no matter what weight they are, unless it's heavyweight, the higher level you are, the more apt you are to go the distance. And your power doesn't have that same effect because they don't let clean shots get through usually. But I think it is a little bit, though. And I think that he hasn't adjusted to punching in bunches now because he's thinking that his one punch KO power is going to get him, and now it's not because he landed a couple decent shots against Jermaine Ortiz over the weekend, but I don't think it's having the same effect that it used to. So you're right. Yes, I think his power hasn't completely carried up like it did. He still got it. Like if he catches one of these guys really good, for sure he can. I mean, but you're at this level, I think that he's got to readjust a little bit. He's moved up to 140 now, right? He used to fight at 135 and he dominated there, but you got to adjust your style a little bit. You also got to adjust, I think, your corner. I mean, I've said it last time. I think he needs a new person in the corner. Maybe even if it's not completely kick his dad out, maybe put his dad as the second man in charge. Yeah. Get somebody else in there because I think Teo, he's at a brink again where this guy mentally is. I just don't know how stable he is.
You could tell those latter rounds if you saw like the camera was on his dad. You couldn't hear what was being said, but you could see the look on Teo's face. Those last few rounds, it's almost as if his dad was saying, "You're behind," or saying something. You could just see like his demeanor changes.
He kept telling Teo to let your hands go. He was not wrong there.
Teofimo's demeanor was changing those latter rounds. And then, post-fight, the interview, he wasn't even hit that much. Yeah. He's still not making any sense in there. Yeah. I don't know what it is with him.
Unstable, man. And I think it's just that he goes from these, like, he's got such huge
Big
highs
and low lows.
I mean, it's like, it's insane because he is when he beat Josh Taylor, how he beat Josh Taylor, we all were like, oh my gosh, like this is the Teo that we saw beat Lomachenko. Like, oh my gosh, he's back. But then now what happens? He does that against Taylor, comes back and has this huge low. I'm like,
you know what would be helpful, I think?
I think that's a direct reflection of your team. You are that talented that, yes, sometimes you get by with your extreme talent, but then the other times, your entire group and your entire aurora is just thrown off because of that. It's not stable there.
Yeah, I just wonder in the sport of boxing, because I know it's become more prevalent in other sports, football, basketball, others. The sports psychology of it, having mental health, for lack of better words, counselors involved. Do you think that's something that's lacking a bit on the boxing side of things? Because I think everyone needs to. Because boxing is such a one-on-one sport.
Yeah.
You lose, you go through all these, all the ups and downs, and it's a roller coaster of emotions. And if you have nowhere to really kind of lay that out other than your corner, which in his case is his father, and it can't be good.
Yeah.
Do you think the sport itself is kind of lacking some of that mental health access, I should say? Or are these guys maybe not wanting to, the machismo of it, not wanting to do that? Do you see that as a problem?
I do, but I think it's deeper than that. There's no access, one, because professional boxing is not governed by anybody, right? So none of these fighters have pensions, they don't have retirements.
Well, they would have to see the person like that on their own anyways.
But and that's where I think that boxing does at some point needs to get together and have one commissioner, have a union, have something like. I really do believe that.
Before.
I do, and that needs to happen. And this is why, because you're right, but I don't think it's so. About 10 years ago, I saw a sports psychologist when I was boxing. So it's there and it's been around. Yeah. And I think a lot of guys do see them now for sure. And I bet you, I mean, I would check into this, but I would venture to say that Teo probably is talking to one. I mean, I can't see him not. At that level, I mean, a lot of big-time promoters, and Teo's a big-time fighter, whether we want to admit it or not. He is. He's a big-time fighter. He's a big-time cash cow. He's making $1 million a fight at least. Thinks he should be making 100, but he's not. But I think there is access because Top Rank, they've been around for a while, so they do know that sports psychologists do work. I don't know if he's talking to one or not, but I know like guys like Tyson Fury. Well, he's a prime example of where
we'll talk about
mental
him
health
in a minute.
matters. But I think the access is not there, though. Yeah. I think boxing has to do better, and that's the union. We need to unionize to get that and have it on. Irina, as a professional women's tennis player, they have therapists and sports psychs on deck to talk to anybody anytime they need to.
I think, if anything, it would be helpful if at least the promotion companies had the ability to connect. Not necessarily, because if I'm a fighter and if I have sports psychologists put in front of me, I would kind of like, is my promoter going to hear what's going on? Are they going to hear what goes on?
They're not supposed to.
I know they're not supposed to, but I would be suspect of that.
Yeah.
But
it is boxing, so you're not wrong. There's a lot of corruption there.
I think in the very least, maybe having the like, hey, here's several numbers to call or whatever else. You're on your own with that because you should be. I don't know. I just thought about that off the fly.
No, I think you're right. It's more of a unionization, though. We need a lot better healthcare, better mental health care, better everything. Well, pensions, retirements, Mr. Gulfstream Financial over here. You need to get in there, a part of the union of boxing, and let them know, hey, come give me your money, guys, and I will keep it safe, and I'll make you money and give you solid returns. That's Gulfstream Financial right there.
Well, there you go. So Teofimo Lopez, what do you think is next for him?
He immediately tried to call out Terrence Crawford, which I think was the wrong fight to do that because listen, I like it that he wants to fight him. I'm not saying that. Yeah. But after that performance, you probably should just shut up and just let it just cool off. Don't make a big deal about it. And then later on down the road, call him out. But you're a 140-pound champion. I like that. I respect that. It is what it is. But I think that you got to clear your division out before you even try for a Terrence Crawford.
Well, here's what I think could be in the works down the road, and I don't know where they're both at from a weight standpoint. So it isn't like necessarily the next fight. But there was some jawing. Keyshawn Davis, who we've talked about before, and I definitely think that he is coming. He's coming.
Yeah.
And we should be really highlighting him at the end of the year when we talk about our prospects.
He just fought too.
Yes, he did. On the same exact card. Knockout. I think 6th round knockout. They were jawing ringside.
Over Hodger Pedraja, who is not hard. It's hard to knock out.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a clash down the road between these two. At least it seems to be setting up that way.
Their weights are very similar. He's 135. Keyshawn is, and
so there you go.
Teo is 140, but Teo fought 35.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that because they did have some words after the fight. Keyshawn, after his fight, he made sure he got himself into the stands, or at least a couple rows back. So they were talking.
You know why that's a big deal too is because Brian McIntyre trains Keyshawn Davis, who also trains Terrence Crawford. So that's also probably why he called out Crawford, because the camp was there, because they were supporting. Crawford was there too. He was supporting.
Well, there you go.
So
according to B Money, pay attention to that. That could be in the works here, Teofimo Lopez. So from one mental health candidate to another, we're going to talk heavyweights because the big clash between Tyson Fury and Usyk is officially off. Which that's old news, folks. If you're listening to us, you know that's been the case. Fury had a little split over the eye during training. A lot of question marks with people speculating online whether or not it was like
rampant.
It was like, all right, hit me now, and split the.
Cut me, Mick. Cut me.
Come on. And now that looks like that fight's pushed off for a few months at the very least.
May 18th, I believe they're rescheduled.
Yeah, I believe so too. So Weekend Trav, what do you make of all this? What do you make of this? On again, off again. These two heavyweights, will we eventually see them? Are we going to see them? Because it looks like Usyk in his contract, he now has a backup plan structured around this deal as well. So if Fury finds a way to wiggle out, $10 million are not on the line for wiggling out. Usyk still has another opponent lined up this time.
So I'm not surprised because it's Tyson Fury, for one. He's called the Gypsy King. He's a gypsy. You know what gypsies do? They roam about. They're never set in one place too long. So, I mean, this is Tyson Fury to a T. The guy, you cannot predict what he's going to do next, because I don't think he knows what he's going to do next sometimes. He's out there. But I do think this fight will happen, though. I do. I think the cut was legit. I saw the pictures. I haven't saw Your Excellency in Riyadh sat down with Tyson Fury and was talking about the restructuring of everything, how they're redoing it. I believe them. I do believe it was a legit cut. It was real. The cut was disgusting. I do believe that there is a $10 million fine on the line if anybody wiggles out. I think the fight does happen May 18th. However, don't be surprised if we get a curveball now and Usyk comes across an injury too, because he's now been in camp training so many different times now. So don't be surprised if his body breaks down because of it too.
If I'm Usyk, I'm pissed right now. I'm frustrated because, first of all, I think he missed the birth of a daughter or something crazy like that because he was training towards this fight.
He's been out of the ring almost a year now.
Yeah, and he's waiting for this. So plan B, it looks like Filip Hrgovic. Am I saying that correctly? Hrgovic. Yeah. There we go. So that's Usyk's plan B.
That's what they're saying?
Yeah. So if something happens with the Gypsy King leading up to this thing, then Filip is going to be ready to enter the ring instead. I'm frustrated if I'm Usyk.
100%.
I haven't fought. I'm a fighter. I want to fight. I missed the birth of a daughter or son. I don't know what it was. I think I saw that somewhere because I'm training for this. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world. I hold all but one major title of the heavyweight class.
Yep.
And I'm not fighting. And I want to fight.
Yep.
Everyone wants to see me fight Fury, and it's not happening. And so far, maybe it happens in May. I don't know, Weekend Trav, but that's the update on there.
Yeah, May 18th in the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So it's supposed to happen, I think, barring any injuries. I do think it will happen, for sure. I do. Barring any injuries, like I said, that you never know with boxing. And B-Money, we always say it on the podcast, we don't believe it until they step in that ring, in the bell rings. So this is the same thing, and I think everybody knows that.
In fact,
but to
I think
be fair,
we said it about this fight.
You did, I think, for sure. But we didn't think we just thought it was going to be something else, like Fury coming back and renegotiating a contract or something, getting out of it. But this was a pretty legit one. I believe the cut was legit. I believe it is a legit.
Oh, look deep. Yeah, I mean the photos they put out immediately on social media.
Gross.
I'm like, wow, that looks pretty clean. It doesn't even look swollen. It looks like someone maybe just sliced it open.
Yeah, they showed the video of it too. But it is what it is. He looks like he's cut for sure. I mean,
he is cut.
Nowadays, I mean, AI, artificial intelligence, you can do about anything, dude.
Great point.
You really can do about anything.
Great
okay,
point.
so it does. I'm not saying that we know for sure. I'm not going to fuel the conspiracy there
Where's the medical record?
But I'm saying that I believe it, and I believe the fight will happen. In May 18th, when it's supposed to. So, not when it was supposed to happen. February.
A long time ago.
Even before that, yes. So, but to be fair, Alexander's been out of the ring a lot too, but so is Tyson Fury. He's been pretty inactive, like for a bit now. Yeah, he's out of the ring almost a year as well. And even before that, he only fought once in 2023. He fought twice in 2022, once in 2021, once in 2020.
So fair, he's super
inactive.
Fury fought last and almost lost to a novice.
He fought Francis Ngannou in October.
Probably did lose to him, but he got the win.
He eked out a tight win that a lot of people thought. It was a split decision. So, yeah, he lost in one score. So, yeah, that's the heavyweight division. And speaking of Ngannou is also going to fight Tyson Fury. He's going to fight Anthony Joshua, and that's in March, I believe, right?
Wait a minute. Somebody else
March
said,
8th. Wait, January. Yeah, March 8th. That's coming up.
Who was it that said that a couple of months ago? That sounded to be like what was going to be the next step for him. Oh, yeah. I said that. That should be the next fight that he has.
Oh, for
Anthony
Ngannou?
Joshua. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you were right because they're fighting March 8th.
You want two bodybuilders swinging for the fences, okay, and eventually sucking wind after a few rounds. That's what I want to see.
And it's very interesting because I'm surprised that Joshua went for this. It's only a 10-rounder. Joshua's a 12-round fighter. He's a world title fighter. Like, you're giving, but if you...
Who else is he going to fight right now?
He's got options now. I mean,
but
he could still... If he fought Deontay Wilder instead of Ngannou, that would be a better fight, though.
Yeah,
still.
But if he can go through and dismantle Ngannou where Fury could not...
Yeah, that's what's going to sell
that throws his name back into the mix of, maybe I can beat Fury one day, which I still don't know why we're even talking about that because Fury is a flake at this point. He only has...
At this point, always.
How does he still have the one belt? I don't even know. How have they not stripped him of that? Because
they didn't even sanction that, right? That was because that was not a world title fight. They didn't, and good for them for not sanctioning it.
But still, it's. I'm kind of over it. Weekend Trav.
His last defense of that title was December of 2022 against Derek Chisora, who was 33 and
his friend, by the way.
Yeah,
he gave him his friend a payday.
And then before that, it was Dillian White, who's pretty solid. Yeah, but that was
another
2022.
Friend.
So like. Deontay Wilder was his last serious fight, and that was 2021.
And that was an
October.
eternity ago.
Yeah.
Did you even have a kid back then?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
My kid was born the month later.
Yeah, now you're about to have 3 of them total.
Whew,
and so Weekend Trav, I'm done with them. Let's talk, fair. We got local action coming up this Saturday, February 24th. Edgar Berlanga is back in town, but this time he's lacing up the gloves. He will be fighting at the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida, brought to you by Box Lab Promotions. I don't know the name of the show, but that is going to be Saturday, February 24th. That is in a week from us talking right now. 6 days.
On DAZN again, yeah.
On DAZN. Great for Orlando, great for local fighting, great for just, I don't know what else to say about it. Do we see, actually, I'll throw it to you. Do we see finally Edgar Berlanga back to form with his knockout power?
I don't think so. Because he is fighting pretty legit guys now. He's fighting the WBA number 3 rated Padraig McCrory, who's 18-0, 9 KOs. So on paper, it looks like the guy's pretty legit. And what we all know is when Berlanga fights legit guys, he doesn't knock them out. In fact, he doesn't even look dominant against them like he used to.
He looks average.
Yeah, and we've seen Berlanga there a couple of times just in the crowd. He was supporting people. I think Amanda Serrano fight one time, and then he was at another one. He was at the Amanda Serrano, then one before that. It was I can't remember who was fighting then. But anyway, we've seen him there, but we've seen him in the stands. Now he's going to be in the ring in the fight. So
it's been a bit since he's fought last too. When was his last fight?
Yeah, not too long ago because he did fight not long ago. But I'll tell you for sure right now. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, he was one of our. Well, I think he was my prospect or whatever we call.
He had 16 straight knockouts. Though.
Oh, of course.
You had reason to have that feeling,
and it wasn't necessarily that I thought he was going to continue just be a knockout artist, but it was bringing in Puerto Rican community. There was excitement. He headlined Madison Square Garden, sold it out. I mean, there's very few people in the Puerto Rican fight game that are doing that. You have him. You obviously have Amanda Serrano that can do that. Your boy
Xander Zayas.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe he can or cannot. I don't know if he would sell out at Madison Square Garden yet.
We're about to find out if he can because he's at that point now to where he he headlined a show, not a Madison show, but he's gonna headline. So eventually they're gonna put him in there because it's rightfully so. And he's with Xander Zaya is with Top Rank, and Edgar Berlanga now is not with him. He is with DAZN and Matchroom, I think.
Yes.
So
he is. Yeah.
His last fight was the end of June of 2023. So that's not bad.
I don't
that's
know.
not terrible. But
like at this
if you
level,
fight in June, you should be fighting at the end of the year for sure. Now he's fighting at the beginning of the next quarter.
These guys with this record at this level, they should be fighting at least twice. A year.
I mean, he fought at Madison Square Garden as his last fight.
Yeah, well, that's great. But now he's fighting in the Caribe Royale, Orlando.
1, 2, 3 fights in a row. But Carib's been.
I know.
Serrano's been there.
I know.
Jake Paul has been here.
But he, I think, in his mindset is something that he is not yet, and he needs to get a little bit more under this belt and get back to those knockouts or get back to the exciting fights. We haven't seen an exciting Berlanga fight in a while, right?
No, Berlanga went 16-0 with 16 knockouts. Now he is 20-0 with 16 knockouts. He hasn't recorded a single knockout since going 16-0 with 16 knockouts. So he's
frustrated. And what we see sometimes with these guys is they get frustrated. And
those knockouts were all first-rounders, B-Money.
Yes.
Holy moly.
But here's what happens with guys like that. Sometimes they now look for it.
Yeah.
They get too frustrated and they rely on it. So I wonder if he's going to be coming out looking for that.
Well, he's had since his last knockout was in 2020.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years. He's learned, I hope, to box now.
Or is it, I'm frustrated, it's been 4 years.
I mean, it easily could be. I mean, because that plays, talking about mental, he for sure, if he's not seeing a sports psych, he needs to, because that is something mentally that you have to get through and battle
we can
through
try. Let's say this fight goes the distance, maybe even a split decision for Berlanga.
Okay.
Where does he go from there?
Yeah, I mean, he's 21-0, so he'd be 22-0 if he won, even by split decision.
Still a great record.
He's very sellable still, but at the high level, in his own mind, he's thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm 22-0, but like I feel like garbage. He's sellable.
Eddie Hearn needs to then start lining up these tomato cans for him to fight,
or cash him out and put him in against a Canelo, or put him in against a David Benavidez, because they're 168. Because this fight, I think this is Edgar. Yeah, this is going to be Edgar's. He's campaigning out 168. So that's why I think that's what I mean by sellable is. If you put Edgar Berlanga in there versus a Canelo or a David Benavidez, people are going to be like, "Oh wow, he's 22-0." Like
those two guys would walk right through him.
They would, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but me and you both know realistic. That Canelo would walk through Berlanga. Yeah. So would David Benavidez. They're on another level, and they've proved that. David Benavidez or Edgar Berlanga has an opportunity, and he's been having opportunities to prove that he can compete with those people. And I want to see at Crib Royale, I want to see him do something.
So what Weekend Trav is trying to say is this is a very, very important fight for Edgar Berlanga. He needs to put his stamp on this fight. It cannot be one of these that is just kind of a weak finish, weak performance, weak victory. If he wants to really have his name thrown into the mix, he has to show something on Saturday night at the Caribe Royale on DAZN here in Orlando, Florida, February 24th, Edgar Berlanga. Pay attention. If you got DAZN, be watching. And if you don't, then you should be signing up to watch this fight.
Yeah, he's going to have – he can't – like you said, too, he can't just win a decision. If he does, he needs to record a couple of knockdowns in there. It needs to be kind of bloody. It needs to be kind of back and forth.
Because you know what? There's plenty of guys out there that are 21, 22-0.
And you notice nowadays that you can get a guy there for sure. Let's see on this undercard, though. Guess who's on this undercard? He's a guy that I picked – on I think I was like, was it our prospect of the year to look out for? Whatever that was, we had the end of the year ones, is Andy Cruz. He's only 2-0, but this kid's pretty phenomenal. He's fighting a guy 14-2. He's fighting on that card. So that's kind of a cool little thing that we're having here in Orlando, Florida. Antonio Vargas is fighting, who we watched there, so he's on the card. I love the guy because he's got a very big faith following, and he follows God very well as well. Very well. I don't know. He follows God how he should, I guess you could say. I don't even know. I don't know, but he's very thankful. He's very thankful, and he seems very faith-based, and I like that. But he's fighting on the card too. So it's going to be a good card out there. So you guys are getting your money's worth for sure. And to be fair, I've never not went to a Box Lab card, and I walked away, and I was just like, I didn't get my money's worth.
Are you not entertained? No, I am.
Very much so.
I'm very entertained.
If they ask me, I would say yes. 100%.
If they shouted at me like that, I'd be like, no, I was. Thank you. So
that card is promoted by Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, Amari, Pedro, and Eric of Box Lab Promotions. Matchmakers Melvin Rivas and Kevin Rooney Jr. I wonder why that is. But yeah, it should be a good card. I think it's pretty solid. Berlanga has another. Here's the deal, though. I said this a while ago, but I was like, his opportunities are shrinking.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I don't want to say this is his last one. I don't think he's that desperate yet, but I think it's his last one to be on the major
Yes,
elite
his marketability is shrinking for
Yes.
sure. Boxers can, go through low periods of their career and come back, but the marketability in the moment right now for him is shrinking. And so he needs to take advantage of that on Saturday at the Caribe Royale on DAZN, February 24th. Get your tickets.
I do believe he relocated his training camp, but he's been here in Florida, I think in Tampa area, and he's been training there now. He's relocated. He's done a lot of different stuff. So I hope that it's working out. I know a strength and conditioning coach he's been working with too. So I do hope all that's working. The guy obviously does have talent.
Absolutely.
So we do know that he can do stuff, but he just hasn't been doing it.
We're going to be critical on the outside looking in because that's what we do. We're in any podcast or any sports show or whatever else. We're looking at it from an outsider's point of view, and from what I see is he needs to get back to not necessarily knockout ways, but a dominant form of victory, and that's going to what will continue to propel his career as it was when he was 16-0 and just running through guys and known for something. He was known for the first round knockout. You can't make a career of that, but you need to be propelling yourself into that conversation by getting back to that dominant victory mindset and performance. So Weekend Trav, that being said, let me throw it to you. Final thoughts, episode 147.
It's been a little bit since we've been on here with the podcast, but I just encourage everybody to check out our In This Corner. I've been trying to stack our Rolodex of up-and-coming fighters, established fighters like the Mike Perrys, the Terrence Crawfords, the Chris Billum Smiths, checking out a bunch of up-and-comers. Check out our last one we just did. It was Jorge Carlos, Giovanni Marquez. All of those guys, check it out on our In This Corner segment of our podcast. But I want to actually be grateful today in my final thoughts and thank our listeners and thank our subscribers because we couldn't do this without them. If we were still in the early stages and we had like 50 subs, we would probably be a little bit hard pressed in 4 years to keep doing this.
We would really have to be drawn to drinking heavily, which maybe we are, maybe we're not. But at least for my spouse to allow this to continue, I would have to really have a good salesmanship behind it. But no, I agree with you. It's this is still fun. I know our schedules have kind of sucked over the last couple of months. That's fine. That's what happens. But hopefully we get now back on a good track of normalcy, especially with the interviews, which are great. Definitely look at those folks. We have a good one dropping. I don't know where we will drop it in the midst of this episode, probably after the episode drops. So pay attention to our rumblings on Instagram, weighing in with Travis Hartman. If you follow us there, follow us on Facebook. I guess you have a tick and a talk tick.
We got to weigh in with Travis on TikTok now.
The TikTok, is that what the kids are calling it?
TikTok, yes. Also, don't forget, Giovanni Estella landed the $1 million prize fighter tournament. He's fighting March 31st in
Big
Japan.
Time. Happy for
We're
him.
going to have him again in this corner within the next 2 to 3 weeks before he goes off. So definitely be looking out for that to drop too. Gio's been on our show twice now. 2 or 3 times now, actually. Gio might be he's a veteran now.
He's a veteran.
I love it, and he trains and trains right here in Orlando, Florida. So we love it. We thank him and the family for always giving us their time to do this. Anytime we ask them
in person.
Oh my gosh, Mama Estella is awesome.
She's great.
Papa Estella is too. Like they're
too.
awesome. And I think next time I'm gonna have Papa Estella and Gio on the show at the same time, and we have a cool setting that I already have planned out.
Okay.
Where we're gonna have that too.
And you know what? At one point we got to interview little bro too.
Oh yeah,
he's up and coming amateur.
Is he? Yeah. Gio's girlfriend too.
And
I just seen she just won another fight in the amateurs. Like this girl wins a lot too.
Exciting family, excited for him and what he can put on display there in March or later in March. And anyway, so Weekend Trav, that's it. Episode 147 in the books. If you have yet to subscribe, please do so below. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when those interviews drop and other episode content. And just give us a sub is always helpful. Find us on Instagram. That's where we do a lot of our promoting of things and conversational pieces on Instagram at Weighing In with Travis Hartman. And that is it.
Sip it up.
That over there is the talent, Travis Hartman, a.k.a. Weekend Trav.
That over there is B Money, a.k.a. Brandon Waters, a.k.a. the man, the myth, the legend, the producer, the man who takes care of all of the intricate details of these videos getting broadcasted to you guys. We couldn't do this without B Money doing this as well. So it's a team effort for sure. B Money's carrying a heavy load, and I appreciate it, B Money. I appreciate you, brother.
God bless.
God bless.